Do your solos sound like you're just running through a bunch of random notes and scales? And you're like, why don't my solos sound good? Why can't I improvise something off the top of my head that sounds good, that people remember, and it makes me look like an awesome guitar player? Well, today I've got the number one fix for that. Okay, what we're gonna do today is going to help you instantly fix your phrasing in your solos, help you play more melodically, and make you just look freaking awesome. Okay, so it's really simple, and so let's dive right in. Now, when I started playing guitar, I was completely self-taught. I've never really taken in-person lessons at all. And so the first time I ever had a solo was my sophomore year of high school. I was in the jazz band, and luckily I knew the scale that we were going to need to play because everybody in the jazz band was going to take a turn in solo, right? And we were playing a B flat. And luckily, I knew the B flat blues scale, which sounds like this. And so I used that scale, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was just puking out notes from the scale, running through random crap. Sounded terrible, okay? So let's think about early guitar solos. If you think back to, like, for example, early Beatles songs, most of the stuff that George Harrison plays does one thing in particular. And if you use that, it's going to instantly make your soloing, your improvising sound way better. So what did George do? What was the secret that he cracked that made his early Beatles solo sound great? He played the melody of the song. It was just that. So what I want you to do is I want you to start listening to and learning the melodies of the songs. I want you specifically to be playing the vocal melody. What are people singing? And so that sounds daunting to a lot of people, but I want you to start doing it. I'm going to show you how you can do it and give you some really practical tips, so make sure that you stick to the end. So what are the things that you're going to have to know? You need to know what key the song is in, okay? For you to understand what you are going to be able to play to find the melody, you need to know what key you're in. If you know what key you're in, you can understand what scale you need to use. And the scale will give you the framework. It gives you the note choices, or at least the beginning point of your note choices within that scale. Because here's the thing. If you're playing a song that's in the key of C major, there's a very good chance that that song is only using the notes from the C major scale, which are C, D, E, F, and G. But here's the thing is, you do this a lot more, you're going to learn it's not just guitar players that are obsessed with pentatonic scales. Everybody in music is. All popular music is based on pentatonic scales, okay? So you're going to find you can use your major pentatonic scale and you can use your minor pentatonic scale, and that's going to give you 99% of the melodies that you need to learn for any kind of popular songs, okay? Now, if you're learning like jazz standards, I'm not your guy. I can't tell you how to do that very well, okay? If you're a metal player and you want to know sweet picking licks, I'm not your guy for that either. I play a lot of alternative, popular rock, very mainstream, blues-based type stuff, and I have a lot of fun with that. That's what I like. So when it comes to figuring out what key you are in, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. One, you can ask somebody, hey, what key is this song in? You could look it up. You can say, hey, what key is this song in? And if you do that, there's a good chance. If it says G, then use the G major scale, or the G major pentatonic scale. Or if it's in E minor, you use the E minor pentatonic scale, right? If you do that, knowing what scale it is going to help you, okay? So if you don't know the scale that you need to use, this is one reason that learning scales is good. But we don't want to be trapped by the scale and just have everything sound like crap when we solo. So here's the example I'm going to use first. This is example number one. This is Ain't No Sunshine. This is by Bill Withers, right? This is a great song. I love this song. I have students playing this in class all the time, and it's in A minor. And so I like to take a loop of part of the instrumental part of a backing track that we have for the song and have students solo over this. And what I do is I get them just playing really, really simply. So the notes that I have them do are just these. We start with the 9th fret on your 3rd string with your 2nd finger. And then on your 2nd string, use your 1st on 8 and your 3rd finger on 10. And then the same thing on your 1st string. You use 1st finger on 8, 3rd finger on 10. And those 5 notes are the 5 notes of the melody of Ain't No Sunshine. Now, during the main part of the melody where he goes up, you might have to slide up to 12 on your 1st string or bend that note up, okay? I'm just going to tell you that now. But if we listen to the vocal melody for Ain't No Sunshine, we're going to hear this.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away.
Now, our goal is to use those 5 or 6 notes, okay, and recreate the vocal melody. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have to pay attention to what notes are played when, how those notes are sung, and how you can mimic that on the guitar. That's going to affect your phrasing so that you make good phrasing choices, because we don't want to just play something basic, because I could take the notes of that and I could just go like this. But that sounds like poop. Nobody's going to like that. What we want to do is we want to spice it up. So we go like this. Right? And we could play around with that and you could do more to it. There's way better guys with phrasing than me, you know? So there's all sorts of cool stuff that you could do, but we want to make it sound good, right? And so just by using those 5 or 6 notes, you can use that as a framework to say, okay, these are the notes being used, and you listen to the melody, and then you use those notes and you try to find that melody. And you have to mimic the timing, you have to mimic the phrasing, you have to mimic the rhythm, and you're going to find all sorts of different stuff. You can use your slides, your bends, your hammer-ons, your pull-offs, vibrato, your different articulation, meaning, especially if you play a note more than once, you can play that note short and you can play it long. And if you put those together, it's going to make a difference on your phrasing. So Ain't No Sunshine is a great one. If you have not done that, go learn all the vocal melody to Ain't No Sunshine. Try to mimic that, okay? Mimicking singers is it's awesome, okay? And then it gives you a great basis for guitar solos, and it teaches you how to play melodically so that you sound interesting when you play and you don't sound like you're playing scales, because you're actually using scales the way that they're meant to be used, not like a guitar player. Okay, now let's do another one. This one is actually a song that I never thought I would be figuring out the melody for, but yesterday I was working with a band and I was having them sing the melody to Believer by Imagine Dragons, and I had to figure out the melody, which I didn't know.
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up and tired of the way that things have been. Oh, ooh, the way that things have been. Oh, ooh.
So what I did is I first found a note that sounded good for the first note of that melody, which was that first things first, right? And it was this. It's a B flat, okay? And I knew that the song sounded kind of minor, so what I did is I used my minor pentatonic scale, okay? Now, I use the diagonal pentatonics way more than anything. I call it the instant rockstar scale. I have a whole course on this scale. If you want to learn more, I'll put a link in the description. But knowing that, and knowing that that B flat was there, I figured out really quick that's the key of the song. That's the root note for this song, okay? And so I use that. So on my third string, it's 1 and 3. Second string is 2, 4, and slide up to 6. And then on your first string, you're also going to use 6 and 5. Okay, but check this out. when I knew that and I understood, okay, I know the scale, now I can find the melody. I literally was just finding the melody using those notes. And the more that you do this, the faster you're going to start finding melodies. But it sounded something like this. So I just knew the scale, and then I used my ear to mimic the vocal melody. So being able to use my ear to figure out what key I was in, and then knowing what scale I can use, whether it's a major pentatonic or minor pentatonic, because you're going to find if you're doing this with popular songs, 99% of them are based on pentatonic scales, okay? So it's going to give you most of what you need. And then if you need to add other notes, you can, okay? But that's going to give you a really solid foundation. So let's look at one more. This is Let It Be by the Beatles, one of my favorite songs. And this is in the key of C major. So I could use the C major scale. But just because I'm lazy, I'm going to use the pentatonic scale because it's easier, okay? And so the first thing I need to do, the song is in the key of C. I need to find the first note of the vocal melody. And so that's going to be when I find myself in time, right? When. There it is. And then from there, I'm going to use that scale to find the rest of the melody and make my phrasing choices and all that stuff. So if that's here, right? That's not bad, right? And that was up until we hit this note. Whisper words on words. That went up to the fourth, right? Which isn't part of the pentatonic scale, but that's okay. I knew that I could go there. I knew it wasn't far away, right? So my ear told me, oh, that next note, that's not in the scale, but it's right here, so I can find it. I could have just bent up to it. Right? That sounds great, right? And you can use that and you can go through the entire melody. Now, I'm not going to do that here, but that's something that you can do and it'll be great practice for you. So how do you do this? First of all, you need to pick some songs, okay? You got to go start learning the vocal parts of songs and mimicking them on your guitar, okay? And it's going to force you to listen to it differently because you're going to have to listen to, am I sure that's the right note? Or have I always heard that note wrong? Okay, that happens a lot. Sometimes I'll be playing something and what I thought was the melody was hearing something else and I had a wrong note, okay? So make sure that you listen closely, make sure that you have the right notes. And then also, you want to mimic the phrasing of the singer, right? Use your own phrasing to mimic the different changes and make it sound musical and cool, not just boring and stock. It's not just about playing the notes. It's about how you play the notes, right? Think about the different things like the rhythm, the articulation, silence, inserting rests, right? Your different phrasing stuff like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, vibrato, delayed vibrato, different things like that. Those are the tools that you have at your disposal to make this easier. So pick some songs, figure out what key the songs are in. You're going to be pretty darn safe if you know that you can use a major pentatonic scale for a major song or a minor pentatonic for a minor song. And that'll even work for the different types of modes. Like if you're in Mixolydian, you're still pretty much going to be playing a major pentatonic. If you're in Dorian, you're pretty much still going to be playing a minor pentatonic. Okay, that's still going to work. So major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, safest place to start. And then you can add extra notes if you need to. Okay. But there's no substitute for practice, as Joe Satriani says. So you need to pick some songs, Spend 5 or 10 minutes a day over the next week or two. And if you do this by mimicking vocal melodies, it's going to take your improvised solos and start making them sound really good and musical. Okay, trust me, do the work, put in the sweat, and play some vocal melodies. And then after you play some vocal melodies, turn on backing tracks and start soloing and think the same way that you do when you're playing the vocal melody, and it will instantly make your solo sound better. Okay, it's worth the effort. Trust me, it's one of the biggest things that has impacted my solos and made them sound a lot better. So I hope that was helpful for you. This really is one of the best things that you can do for your playing. Now, if this was helpful for you, I have another gift for you as well. If you go to my website, simpleguitar.com/top10, there's a free 17-page guide there called The Top 10 Things to Learn on Guitar First. And it's actually not just a 17-page PDF. There's videos to go along with each of the 10 points within there. And so you can go a little bit deeper with it. But two of the things that are included in there are these diagonal pentatonic scales that we talk about and how you can use those for learning these melodies. And if you want to go deeper, I do have a course that goes way deeper on those scales, shows you how to use them all over the place. I'll put a link for that down below too. But go to simpleguitar.com/top10, get that guide, have fun with it, go do the work of learning to mimic vocal melodies. Now, if you haven't seen it already, go check out this next video on how to play the Let It Be solo, since we're talking about Let It Be. And this has everything on how to play the album version of that solo. It's one of my favorite things. So have an awesome day. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.